Hello, this is the new Caribou. The Honorable Sir David, Emperor of Salt Lake City, Sultan of Utah, Spiritual Advisor to Questioning Mormons, the Bard Extraordinaire, and the Supreme Being and Alpha and Omega. Now, after my humble introduction, I do look at my comments most of the time still. There's a lot of them, and I can't always do the request, and I can't always do exactly what people want me to do. That's my whole life. I can hardly ever do what people want me to do. There's a couple of comments that have a theme, and I'm going to cover that theme because I think it's important. A lot of the Mormons who comment, there's less and less of them, but damn, they're like cockroaches. You spray and it looks good for 8 days, 9 days, and then you look down and there comes another one, which is fine. Everyone is welcome to leave comments and to have their opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's what I want to say. A lot of the Mormons, no, not a lot, all of the Mormons are trained to not believe that I'm doing better out of the church than I was in the church. They can't believe that I'm not kicking against the pricks of the world, which is a statement that means I'm being punished. I'm going to try to compare my life after leaving the church and the 50 years that I was in the church. Now, people say from the Mormon church, you're just spreading lies, you're hateful, you're unhappy. God, if this is unhappy, may I be unhappy forever. And they're always trying to scare me. God's going to get you. I said, no, God's already got you. You're in a Mormon cult. So what I'm going to do is summarize. Okay, when I was first married, I was married in the Manti Temple the first time, and a nice person, Janice, and I had 2 kids with Janice, and I was a student at BYU, and I struggled at BYU because they're very domineering and they're very directive in education. And you take their religion classes or you take the road. It's that simple. And Janice and I were married 4 years. And in that 4 years, she helped me with my homework, which I appreciated. And we got divorced. Now, I was a Mormon, and I was married in the temple. Now, to categorize that everything bad happened to me was the fault of the Mormon church simply is way overstatement. It's way overstatement. But Mormons, they're black and white. There's no gray to the Mormons. You're either in or you're out. I'm out. So there's my first divorce. Oh my God. I had, from that point until I left the Mormon church, my life was a living hell. I believed that I should have a perfect wife. They were getting a perfect husband. Fair's fair. And be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. And I figured, why not me? I have all the blessings. I have the priesthood. I have the funny underwear. I pay my tithing. I teach the elders quorum. I take the kids to the church in the rain, snow, thunder, hurricanes, tsunamis. What's wrong with me? I wasn't immoral. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I just did my taxes last night. And I don't cheat. I don't cheat. The law is the law, and I have had nothing but problems since I was married in the Mormon church. I've been miserable. Now with Janice, I didn't try to commit suicide with Janice. She wasn't that bad of a wife, and my life was miserable, but I thought, well, it's got to get better. It didn't. It didn't. And I was an unhappy person in the Mormon church. I prayed, I fasted, I read the Book of Mormon, I jumped up over the hoops and over the hoops, and finally the hoops started hitting me in the scrotum. I said, you know what? I don't think I want to jump these hoops. So I said, well, let me give it another chance. So I went back and married my 7th grade girlfriend, and she wasn't a Mormon. Things got good at the beginning of that marriage. I mean, she came to BYU. I was there in my junior and senior year with her, and she was a fun wife, and she was a little depressing at different times, her own personality. And then we had, oh Lord, I forget, we had 5 kids, and I adopted one of her only child, who shuns me today. This child's father abandoned her before she was born, and I've taken care of her for over 20 years, sent her to Europe on a foreign exchange program, helped her get married to an attorney there at BYU, and I can't see her or my grandchildren because I'm not a Mormon. So my life with her has been miserable with that child. Well, Janet and I were married 9 years. I mean, it's not like I'm flip-flopping these relationships. It was 9 years. And I came home from work one day, and there was a note on the table. I've left and I've taken your kids. You need to change, or you'll never see us again. Well, that's another video in and of itself. I obtained the custody of those children. The judge thought I was the better parent. And when the Mormon church found a male having custody of 5 children, one was baby, one was 8 months old, Dan was 8 months, and when the Mormon women found out that the children were given to me, I began to feel shunning from the very beginning. My life was miserable. I had 5 kids, one was a baby, and I worked full-time down in Los Angeles. It took an hour to get to work, an hour to get home. I had trouble with daycare centers. I had to be at school. I had to fix breakfast and lunch, and oh my God, it went on. My life was miserable. As a Mormon, it was miserable. So anyway, I thought, well, hell, 3 times is the charm. Now I'm trying to think with Janet. I don't think I tried to commit suicide with Janet either. I really was crazy about Janet, and I'm not ashamed of that. She was my girlfriend, and oh my gosh, just when my eyes looked at her and hers looked at me, we were undressed in 2 seconds. And we had 5 kids. And she used to kid me and say, you don't even have to be in bed with me. All you have to do is walk around the bed and I get pregnant. So anyway, there were good times in that relationship, but I was miserable as a member of the church. The church persecuted her. She'd had a couple of abortions when she was younger, and the church had to send down special authorities to question her about her vagina. So they persecuted us. I was miserable. She was miserable in the Mormon church, but snow, sleet, hail, tsunamis. We went to church. We paid our damn tithing when we didn't have enough money. We didn't get more money. We didn't get more opportunity. We just got more poor paying tithing. So I married then, and I was married to Janet 9 years. Then I married Jeannie. Now Jeannie is from Oklahoma, and it's hard to say this, but I'm not sure I've seen anything good ever come out of Oklahoma. Even the Dust Bowl people, when they got to California, they didn't fit in either. And Jeannie was a returned missionary. Now my life in the Mormon church really went to hell. I was totally miserable during, well, I shouldn't say totally. There were good times. In every marriage there's good times. And Jeannie couldn't have children. We knew I could because I had a whole herd of them behind me. And she couldn't have children, so I went and, went into bipolar mode and went with a doctor, and he and I figured out what the problem was and how to fix it. And then we had 3 children, and we were married 18 years. Like, each time I'm kind of doubling the time that I'm married. So I was miserable then in the Mormon church. I couldn't pay my bills. I wasn't buying liquor. I wasn't buying guns. I wasn't having buying boats and campers and shit. I was just trying to feed my family and keep the clothes on my kids. And the church was nothing but a millstone around my neck. Well, I was married to Jeannie for 18 years, and then I decided, again, she's not perfect, and I am, and her ass is out of here, so I divorced her too. Well, then I decided I needed someone well-educated, so I married a girl out of Denver, Sandra, and Sandra had a master's degree. Well, she sort of had a master's degree. She was a lesbian. I didn't know that. Even watching the same porn with me, I didn't put that together. No. Jesus got me again. Son of a bitch. So we had Jenny, one baby, and I've got movies on here about the lesbian wife. Then I thought, well, hell, that marriage only lasted 2 or 3 years, and then I married Carolyn. In fact, I married Carolyn before Sandra, and Carolyn was a mental patient at a mental hospital. I didn't know that. I'm a Mormon. I'm just an innocent guy. When the Holy Ghost said, marry mental patients, I did. So, God. Now, let me tell you something. And Carolyn painted herself green. And last time I saw her, in fact, I didn't see her. I got a call from the Topeka, Kansas mental institution. It said, your wife is here. And I said, keep her. So anyway, my point is this. All the years I've been in the Mormon church, I've been one miserable son of a bitch. People didn't accept me. People didn't like me. People lied, they cheated, and they stole, and I couldn't do that. Like I said, I did my taxes. I've been audited with the IRS 3 times. First time they gave me a check for $350 and said, we made a mistake. You're better than we are. The next time they audited me, they said, you're too old to have a baby. You don't have Jenny. Jenny doesn't exist. She is an invisible, fraudulent baby. So I took her down to the audit, and I held her head there. I kept going to the IRS audit man. Does this look like a ghost? And Jenny would cry. And he said, no, she's not a ghost. We're sorry. You do have a baby. And the third time, it was a push. It was a push. And they found I just basically don't lie, cheat, and steal. Now, the Social Security Administration audited me. I've told you this on other videos, but I helped build a ranch from scratch in California on 10 acres for retarded and special ed kids. And through government grants and donations and whatever, $1 million went through my checking account, and I wasn't allowed to have any of that money. Well, when you have that much money in a checking account, most human beings, in fact, in Utah, if you got $10 in your pocket, you start a Ponzi scheme, and you start to rip off your brothers and sisters and your family. Well, they did a year study, and they every penny, and then I got a letter from the Social Security Administration that said not one penny have you used for yourself? All of the money for the unit went to the unit and to the people, employees. So, the Mormons that say, well, you're an unhappy person and you're just ragging on our church, no. I was there, folks, for 50 years. I worked in the temple in Los Angeles. I was married in the temple. Let's see, I didn't marry Sandra and I didn't marry Carolyn in the temple. I was married Manti Temples, Washington, D.C. Temple, and the Salt Lake Temple. I was a miserable, miserable human being. I couldn't speak. I wasn't allowed to ask questions. I wasn't allowed to verify historical information. I was in a cult. I could still think for myself, but I thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't realize it was a cult. There's something wrong with being in a cult. So, during those years that I was in the church, I tried to kill myself 4 times. I was so miserable. Some people said, thankfully, we're glad you didn't die because you can speak to us. Ex-wives say, damn, can't you get anything right? And I go, well, I'll try it again. But all the years I was in the Mormon church, I was miserable enough to kill myself. Way too many kids, because the church told me it was the beginning of my eternal family, and my wives were Mormons. Let's see, one was a return missionary. I'm married to a return missionary right now. But I couldn't pay my bills. My damn cars wouldn't start. They're so old and so beat up. I had to fight to get dental, anything dental for my kids. I couldn't afford that in a million years. And half the time, when they're sick, I would take them to the emergency room and set them on the counter, and the doctors would say, well, do you want us to look at them? And I said, no, it'll cost me money. If they start to die or turn blue, then yes. I couldn't, folks. I was the most miserable human being on the face of the earth. I understood the gospel. I went to BYU, my friends, and I graduated from BYU. And I couldn't say anything at BYU. I couldn't think. I couldn't be a human being. The cult would not let me be the different human being that I am. And let me just say to you, at BYU, I had barely C, average work. In my first master's, I had straight A's. Did I just get smarter? Or did I get into an environment where I could start to thrive as a human being? My second master's, which I never finished, straight A's. Straight A's. Mormons, how do you explain that? So, during the time I was in the Mormon church, I was on the run constantly from debt and collection people. Now, I've become an expert. Let me demonstrate to you how much of an expert I am on not paying my debt. Because my tithing and my fast offering was going off to the Mormon church. I was sometimes working 2 jobs. In fact, half the time I was a Mormon, I was working 2 jobs to try to feed. I have 14 kids now, but back then it was 7, 8 kids. And when the creditors would get close enough, I would yell to the kids and the family, get your pillowcases. They knew what that meant. We're moving in the middle of the night. We're moving. Take what you can in a pillowcase. Leave the furniture and anything else you have here. Get in the car, and we're going to a new place to start over. Start over. Start over. Now, I've never lived in any place longer than I've lived in this place right now out of the church. Half the time I couldn't afford gas, and I'm going to tell you something. I drove at least 30 years with no car insurance. No car insurance. I couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford it. Being in that cult, church, if that's what they want to call it, made my life miserable. Now the Mormons are going to say, well, he caused it himself. He's this, he's that, the Holy Ghost, he was hard-hearted. No, I was a good Mormon. I tried very, very hard. And the first time I resigned, I ended up resigning twice because I thought, well, maybe I made a mistake. And then I go, no, I didn't make a mistake. And the bishop said to me, well, why are you resigning? And I said, well, I'm not getting the blessings that the church promises. I'm doing everything right. I'm wearing my garments, I'm fasting, prayer, and I have my family home evening, and, I've read the Book of Mormon 2 or 3 times and the Bible 2 or 3 times, and this church sucks. And I'm not getting the blessings. So between the pressures financially of the creditors, I never owned a home. I was always renting because I didn't have a down payment. Hell, I didn't even have... I remember when I was a Mormon living in Utah, I got up one morning and I got Michelle, my oldest daughter, my oldest child, a bowl of cereal. We didn't have any milk, Mormons. We poured water in her Cheerios, and then I yelled, get your pillowcases, and we ran to my parents' house in California to try to recover and get back on our feet. When I was a Mormon, I lived in a trailer, had no heat at night, and no bathtub, a hose for a shower, and a filthy trailer park. Then I moved up in the world, and I moved to a bigger piece of crap trailer, and I lived there in the cold in Utah. It's kind of emotional for me to go back and look at my life being a Mormon. I didn't realize I was that unhappy. I did often wonder, why am I trying to kill myself? And I finally came to the conclusion, death. There's things that are worse than death. One of them is being in the Mormon church. The poison over the years and years finally gets you so weak, so stupid, and so cognitively dissonant from thinking that it's hopeless. It becomes hopeless. So, I was always in debt. I never had a house. I never had stability in my life. I never had medical insurance. I never had dental insurance. My kids, I did have to take them, like all parents do, to the hospital, but then I wouldn't pay the bill because I couldn't. I had to pay the rent. Oh, and the tithing, and the fast offering, and back in those days, and the building fund, and the perpetual fund. And, the church was in my pocketbook all the time, and I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford it. Once I got away from BYU, I did very, very well in college, and I was recommended for academic student of the year. I didn't win. I was second place, but that's a little bit of a compliment. So now, let me tell you, after I got the hell out of that organization, what my life is now. Am I making this up? Am I lying? The Mormons, oh yeah, he's lying. God will get him. I'm an atheist. God is not going to get me. When I die, if they throw me in hell with pitchforks and that kind of shit, or outer darkness, I don't give a rat's ass. I don't want to be in heaven with Christians or Muslims or Buddhists. I don't even want to be down here with them. I don't want to be up there. Your reward is my hell. I don't want it. Now, after I resigned from the Mormon church, I married Mercy, who's my wife now. And we have a good marriage. There's a few times we've yelled at each other, but other than that, it's not been bad at all. She's about the sweetest person in the world, and she's very dedicated and a very honest person. And after I left the Mormon church, things started to turn around for me. I started my own courier business, And that went well. I made, I don't remember, 80, 90, $100,000 a year. I'd never seen that kind of money when I was a Mormon. The prophet did from my tithing, but I never saw it. And I was able to go from an old broken down car to a newer car and a newer car, and now I have two brand new cars sitting out there. You know, I've got a Prius out there, and I've got a Hyundai, triple black Hyundai, and I can actually make the car payments. I remember when I lived in Lancaster, California, I couldn't make the payments on my Z28 Camaro, and I had to park it in different places at night because they were looking for it. And finally, it was a voluntary repossession. It was putting so much stress on me that I had to turn the car in. It was better to have an old broken down car than to have someone chasing you every night for your car. So they repossessed that. They repossessed my truck, and I built a house for my family in a garage, and then rented out the other part of the house. That turned into a nightmare. We had daycare centers, and my son Steven slapped one of the kids in the daycare center. I shut that down the same day. I knew where that was going. We just had nothing but, you know, poor life experiences in the Mormon church. Well, since then now, I'm out. I smile. My kids used to say to me, "Dad, why don't you ever smile?" Because I'm a Mormon. There's nothing to smile about. I'm scared. I can't be perfect. I can't, you know, do all the things that they want. And he said, "Well, Dad, you're doing everything." I said, "I know, but someday you'll shun me." So I was a prophet, and they do. I was with my kids, but basically now I'm not a Mormon. They shun me. That's what that church teaches. So now I have two kids, my last family, 13 and 14, and we're not without our challenges in our family. I've told you about Allison, and Abby is a wonderful teenager, but teenagers are teenagers. I'm happy. I go places with my kids. I have time to go to their parent-teacher conferences. Abigail ran track. I went over, watched her a couple times running track. And, oh, gosh, today is daddy-daughter lunch. I forgot. I got to get a check. And you know what? I have the money to go over and buy a McDonald's lunch and sit down with my 9-year-old. She wanted a Happy Meal, and have a special lunch. I didn't do those things with my other family. I was so tired working 2 jobs and throwing myself in bed and getting out at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning and driving a couple of hours. So now I have happy children. Our house is full of children. All the time I was in the Mormon church, we never had kids over to our house, and we never had sleepovers. Never. Now, almost every weekend, we have 2 or 3, the neighbor kids come over and have, you know, a sleepover with our children. My children are involved in school. Abby is doing basketball right now. She plays the piano. I have money. I have $15 every piano lesson. I didn't have that when I was a Mormon. Those kids I had didn't have any extra opportunities. I could just barely keep them alive. I've lived now in this house in Australia. The guy was reading my shirt the other day, and it said Moscow, and I got that over at DI. You know, 50 cents for a shirt. I go, I'm getting my tithing money back. It says Moscow, and he says, "Where is Moscow, Australia?" Funny people. You people are so funny. So now I have cars that start in the wintertime. And you know, I have cars with heaters in them. When I was a Mormon, I had a Volkswagen bus, and it had no heater. None. And it can get cold out there in the snow. So I bought a Coleman catalytic heater, and I lit it inside the bus with the family. Now, the kids went to sleep very quickly, but I'd open the window and get some air that wasn't full of carbon monoxide, and I could keep going. That's what I did. That's what I did as a Mormon. I was miserable. Now I have two beautiful cars. I can go anywhere I want. My cars, you know, it used to be if we were going to take vacation, we would say, well, which car can make it more than 100 miles? So we'd take that one, and then there was always flat tires and engine problems and being stranded, and oh my God, it was just a nightmare being a Mormon. Everything went wrong being a Mormon. Like I said, now I have two cars, and they'll start, and they'll go anywhere I want, and you know what? You know what? I have enough money to go somewhere. You know, I've been on a cruise with my family. I never had money to go on a cruise with being a Mormon. You feel guilty spending that money anywhere except giving it to the church and to the kids. So I've been on a cruise. I've been to Vegas 2 or 3 times. And, you know, we don't gamble and we don't drink, but, you know, we still enjoy going to Vegas and going on tours and bus tours. I've been to Laughlin. I love Laughlin, Nevada. We've been over there 3 or 4 or 5 times. And we took a trip from San Diego up through San Francisco, 2,000 miles last year, and drove and got to see the Golden Gate and SeaWorld. And actually, I had enough money to put the kids in through the front gate. Now, when I was a Mormon, I'd put them in the trunk of the car, like in the old days at the drive-in, to get into the movies. And when we got up to the turnstile to pay, you know, I had boys that were 6'3", 280 pounds with beards, and they'd say, well, how old is your child? And I go, he's 6. He's very mature for his age. I needed that extra $5 off his ticket to get in there. We'd go to Disneyland when I was a Mormon, and we'd take a pack of lunch with us because we couldn't afford to buy anything there. We couldn't afford, you know, Mickey Mouse ears. Hell no. I couldn't afford Mickey Mouse ears. Now, where I live, I've been longer than I've ever been. Since I've left the Mormon Church, my life has become stable. I am not running. These kids don't know anything about pillowcases. I don't owe any money. The creditors all died. And I don't, you know, buy crap that I can't pay for now. And Mercy's wonderful with money, and we have a very, in my opinion, we have a very nice place to live. And this year, we spent over $35,000 just putting on new bathrooms and new things, water heaters and other kinds of things. So all that stuff is being paid for on time. I used to think that $35 or $40 a month in bad check charges was just a fee. Was just a fee for my checking account. I had to kite checks from Thursday until Monday for food, for baby bottles and diapers. I could hardly. I remember we'd run out of diapers, and I'd have to use towels and a pin, and then we'd wash the diapers by hand in the bathtub. It was a miserable life, folks. Miserable. Now, I have my nice house, pool, jacuzzis, and I relax, and I'm able to go downtown when I want. And you know what? I can buy a Big Mac whenever I want, and I don't feel guilty. Mercy and I eat out 2 or 3 times a week. The kids all have their special, you know, clothing and dental. Little Allison, when I got her from the Philippines, I had to pay, or we had insurance that paid $5,000 on a 4-year-old for her teeth. They were so rotted from coming from the Philippines. She's got perfect little white teeth now, a little brace. My health is better. My blood pressure is down. My anger management and control seems to be moderated. Now, yeah, I'm on meds. I was on meds when I was a Mormon. And, you know, I didn't have to, now that I've left the church, I don't have to take anti-hate meds. So, I don't hate anybody. I get along with my neighbors, and I haven't had a ticket in a car. Over 50 years, I've had no tickets. I have total auto insurance now that I've never had before, that I'm surprised when I get pulled over I don't have to give the old song and dance and the $100 bill to say I don't have insurance. I have insurance on my children, which I've never had before. They have medical, they have dental, medication, prescription, drug bills, all paid for. All paid for. My health is good. I've had quad bypass surgery, but to me that's just a hurdle to get over. I feel good. It's been 2 years. I don't have any more chest pains. Jesus didn't help me. My surgeon helped me. And I appreciate it that he went to school and learned how to fix my heart. I sleep well. I can take naps anytime that I want. I eat like a king. You can see that. Buddha sitting here. So all you Mormons that go, oh, the Bard, oh, he's left the church. He's going into outer darkness. I'm telling you, folks, let me say this. I am so happy that I got the hell out of that cult, and my life has improved so much. The quality and the quantity of my life has improved so much. I've been to the Philippines. I've lived there for a little while. I never thought I would go to a foreign country unless I was a missionary, and I wasn't willing to live with a guy just to get to a foreign country. That's asking too much for me. So you're going to have to accept it, Mormons. I'm much happier out of your church. I don't hate you. You hate me. I don't write mean things. When people that are Mormons ask on my comments for me to gyrate my body in such a way that my genitalia and my rectum have special assignments, I don't find that to be a Christian. I don't find that to be, well, I find it to be funny because I'm bipolar and things like that don't hurt my feelings. But when I look at that, I say to myself, that's the way the Mormons really are. And a lot of you who watch me say, I look at your comments, and the Mormons speak for themselves. They're crazy, the things that they say about themselves and you. Well, everyone has to make their own mind up. But I'm healthy. I'm happy. I'm somewhat adjusted. I'll never be fully adjusted. I used to say to my kids, you're going to get an adjustment. And they knew what that meant. But these kids have been so much easier for me to raise than the Mormon kids. The Mormon kids were not happy children. These are happy children. They have friends over, they have parties, and you know, they do normal things. I never could afford cable. I remember having TVs that I put the tinfoil up onto the antenna to try to get one station. Now we have cable, we have Netflix, and a TV in every room. It doesn't mean that we're rich. It just means that we're stable. We're middle-class, stable people, happy. Mercy gets to go out with her friends. I don't put any limitations. She has several Filipino friends, and they girls all get together. They've come over here. I go back in the back room and lock myself in because I can be obnoxious, and I don't want to hurt her friends' feelings. And I actually don't want to smell the Filipino food being cooked either. But anyway, Mormons, deal with it. Deal with it. I am so happy to have resigned. I wasn't excommunicated. I resigned from your church because it's not true. I've read the Journal of Discourses. I've read the documentary History of the Church by B.H. Roberts. The Miracle of Forgiveness. The first 2,000 years or whatever with Skousen. I was taught by Truman Madsen. I was taught by Roy Doxey. I was taught by some of the greatest teachers and authorities of the Mormon Church all the time I was at BYU. It's not true. I don't approve of marrying 14-year-old girls. And I don't approve of plates that disappeared so I can have faith in Joseph Smith. I'd rather see the plates and see the translation, and then I would have faith in Joseph Smith. So all the Mormons who are saying, oh, look at him, oh, look, he's so miserable, he's sitting in the closet. Well, yeah, I'm sitting in the closet. It's my office studio. You can see I got the insulation, so I can speak. The kids are right here, and Mercy's down there. They can't hear what I'm saying, so it makes it better. I can go places. I do. Went up to Lava Hot Springs 2 or 3 times, and we were tubing down the river there, which is a blast, and then going into the hot springs. I go places. I do things. I'm not afraid anymore of anybody or anything. And so when you Mormons write to me and say, well, you're a liar, the temple ceremony is nothing like you said, well, prove me wrong. Simply say something that I lied about. Well, they never do. They're just trained to say you're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar, and they're trained to go, hey, he has to be unhappy. He's faking it. Let me tell you, folks, let me tell you something. Blood pressure, numbers, you can't fake those. My blood pressure was sky high when I was a Mormon. The galvanic skin response machine sounded like a Geiger counter that just found Fort Knox. It's not that way anymore. I'm relaxed. Blood sugars so high that ketoacidosis was my friend. It's controlled now. It's controlled. And the heart problems that I have, I blame mostly on the Mormon Church. My family doesn't have any history of heart disease. None. None. The pressure that I was under being a Mormon and trying to raise children caused the high blood pressure and the heart problems. Now, I'm not so stupid, and I'm not going to say to you, I didn't eat a Twinkie or 1,000 Twinkies. All right, 1,000,000. It doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter. Obviously, I contributed to some of my diabetes and health problems, and I certainly take full responsibility for that. But when is the Mormon Church going to take any responsibility for the stress and the anger and the frustration and the fear that they put me under day after day after day? They never accept it. They say, oh, it's always David. It's like when you're giving a blessing in the Mormon Church. If it doesn't work and you don't get better, it's your fault. It's not the elders and it's not the priesthood. They always work. It's your fault. See, in the Mormon Church, it's always you. Things and principles don't work in the Mormon Church as they say they should. And when they don't, then the members are taught to feel guilty that they're not good enough. They're evil. The principles are not working. You're not wearing your garments. You should wear 2 pairs of garments, one on your head. You do that, and the principle still doesn't work. You get shot. It goes through the garments and kills you. It's not a protection. So, all of my Mormon friends, you're certainly welcome to write in to dance, Indian dance. I can say Indian because I'm old. Native American dance for a rainstorm or whatever, and you can wish like hell that I become miserable. That says more about you than it does about me. I've got a girl getting dressed right now for basketball, early in the morning, 5 o'clock, whatever. She's happy. I won't let her attend your church. She has good self-esteem. I won't let her attend your church. When she turns 18, she can do whatever she wants. You know that, and I do too. But I have never been so happy in my life. And the few years of freedom that I've had and the enjoyment of life that I've had, getting the hell out of the Mormon Church is worth eons, eternities living in hell. I don't believe in hell. I don't even believe in God. I think we're evolutionary creatures. I sat with Mercy last night, and we've decided to try and immigrate her parents here to the United States. And they're going to live in our house. We have a spot that they can live in. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. I'm not trying to get Jesus points. Do I want to live with my in-laws? They're good people. But if I preferred, I'd rather not have in-laws living with my family. But it makes me happy to help them. I'm helping them because it's the right thing to do, not because of Jesus, not because I need a temple recommend, not because I paid my tithing and I'm going to be blessed. I never was blessed paying my tithing. I was cursed from the first dollar I gave the Mormon church. So all of you LDS people, you're welcome to write in. You're welcome to call me every name. Someone just called me a retard. That's okay. That's okay. They can call me a retard. And those of you that continue to think of gyrations that I can do with my body and my genitalia, that's okay too. That's, you Mormons are speaking for yourselves. My audience sees you as you really are, and I think they see me as I really am. I'm better out of the Mormon church. I'm happier out. And I've been out long enough now that my life is stable, the bills are paid, the kids go to the dentist, that there's no chaotic substance to my life like there was in the Mormon church. Thanks.